So some of you know that we have three weekly programs that we run. One of them is MDB that comes out every Saturday, like this one. We have Truth Be Told that is on Tuesdays, and then we have Eagles Night that is on Fridays. These programs serve multiple different purposes. While Eagles Night is a prayer night and a night of growing in faith and deepening your relationship with God, Truth Be Told is all about winning in relationship. This week particularly, we talked about how to stormproof your marriage, how to ensure that your marriage is standing strong when challenges come. We talked about that. It was powerful. I want to encourage you to go back and watch it, because one thing we know for sure is that marriage is a gift. But let's be real, right? It is also a journey, and the journey is filled with life lessons that you don't always see coming. Some couples make it look easy. They make marriage look easy. A lot of couples struggle to hold things together in their marriage. So welcome back to my Darling Bride podcast, powered by Refuge and Fortress Network. It is yours faithfully, Emmanuel O. and
Lonnie O.
And on today, we're talking about the recent split between, it's unfortunate. It's an unfortunate split between Tiana Taylor and Eman Shumpert. That's a funny name. I've never known how to pronounce that name. They were a couple that a lot of people admired here in America, at least.
Yeah.
And their divorce raised some important questions, like what truly keeps a marriage strong? What truly stormproofs a marriage? What causes even the best relationship to break down? And how do couples navigate the seasons of marriage without losing each other along the way? Without losing each other along the way. And to kind of answer that, we're going to be looking inward tonight or today, and we're gonna talk about what we do. And this is probably going to serve as a part 2 of what we talked about on Tuesday at Truth Be Told, about stormproofing your marriage, right? We're going to talk about what we do in our own marriage that we find to work for us, the lessons we've learned along the way, and what intentional decisions that have helped us to stay connected in our home and in our relationship.
Yeah.
We've been together about 14 years. And out of that 14, we've been married for how long?
8 years.
There you go. You see?
Sound like you didn't know that. It's like, I thought that one that you.
So before we go further, if you're yet to subscribe, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to like, share, and comment, and let us know what part of this segment, what part of this episode is being a blessing to you. All right, let's get into the conversation. What do we do in our marriage that actually works for us? I'm gonna let you go on this one, because you tell me what you think we do that makes our marriage work, right? And I'm saying that because rather than giving textbook answers, I want to talk about real practical things that help us keep our marriage strong, right? And we'll be asking some questions, like, for example, let me ask you this one. How do we prioritize our marriage amidst us being busy? Because we're very busy. Every week is always something going on. Almost every day there's something going on, right? But how do we, in your opinion, how do we prioritize our marriage even amongst everything else that we have going on?
Yeah, I mean, we have 3 kids in school. You know, we're both working in the professionals. We have a ministry, so we get busy. So for us, I feel like what we've managed to do, and I think we've talked about this before as well in our previous podcast, but we're talking about a different topic, but it came up when we talked about how we kind of intertwine our lives and our time and our schedule together, where it's like we do everything together. You know, obviously we don't go to our individual professions together. We would if we could, but we don't. But aside from that, I feel like once we put away all the business, like for example, at the end of the day, you know, you've come back from whatever meetings or clients you had to meet with. I've come back from picking up the kids and getting home and done with every work that I had to do. And it's time to kind of just relax. We do the relaxing together. You know, we come together, we eat together, and we actually started something as of recently in our family, where we actually sit together to eat. Like we actually, like it's in our little round table, our center table, we sit down together and we eat, and we're either watching something we all want to watch or we're talking. But in that way, we're spending time together. And I feel like that was intentional, because life could kind of get away from people. And in the midst of the business, you could kind of forget each other along the way. But because we've intertwined a lot of our lives together, it's made it hard to not miss, or it's made it hard to not have each other or have time for each other, or have each other in mind, because everything that I need to do, I have to think, wait a minute, I gotta talk to hubby about it. I gotta ask hubby about it. You know what? How does it even work with hubby's schedule and my schedule? Do you understand what I'm saying? So we've managed to, by prioritizing our marriage, we've put it at a very important part in our life, in everything that we do in our life.
Would you say that we've ever had moments of distance where we felt like where we're distant amongst one another, and how did we bring it back together?
Do you know what's funny about our relationship? I feel like the only time we've had distance or space is when we argue. Or when we fight. Once we're not arguing, or we're not fighting, or we're not pissed at each other, we're literally spending time together. Do you understand what I'm saying? So the only thing that creates the distance or the staying away from each other is really when we're not happy with each other in that moment. So I feel like that's the only time when you see that distance. But we've also learned how to not be upset with each other too long, to let that distance to let that distance actually start to affect the marriage.
Because what we've learned is that every emotion has wings, every emotion grows, every emotion has power and ability, because they're governed by spirits, right? And they have the potential to become much bigger than what they are. Anger can become something else. Distance from one another can become something else. Like whatever you breathe life to can grow from a tiny little thing and turn into a whole situation. And what we've learned is, no, we're not going to give life to this thing. And so if, for example, distance is the problem in this situation, we are quick to recognize what it is, and then we say, okay, we got to nip this in the bud. We got to work on this. We got to figure this out and make sure it's not a continuous problem over and over again. We address it immediately. And we identify quickly and we address quickly. And the way we identify quickly is because we know what our normalcy is in our home and in our marriage. And so the moment something starts to feel abnormal, we already know something is obviously wrong. And we need to dissect and find out what is the situation, what is the issue, why is there a problem right now, and what can we do to address it quickly so that we can go back to our happy place. And that is another word that I kind of want to kind of shed light on, and talking about how we prioritize our marriage amidst the business. Is we have a happy place. You mentioned it. One of them was how no matter how busy we get, at the end of the night, we come together as a family and we have the kids sit down in front, at the table, and we eat together, we talk, we're laughing, we force ourselves to do those things, right? That's one happy place, if you will. That place that we quickly want to go to and get to. And so in that scenario, for example, when or if we're not eating together, there's a problem. There's a problem, and then we begin to say, okay, what's going on? Why we're not eating together?
Unless we're not in the same place.
We're not in the, of course. But but that way we're able to identify what's abnormal, because that's not our normalcy. You follow what I'm saying? So that's what we've learned to have a happy place in our home, and we love going to that happy place, and whatever will stop us, we'll look forward to it. And whatever will stop us from getting to that happy place, we want to address it immediately.
And even to kind of touch upon that, prioritizing your marriage, we've decided, I think now we kind of see it more clearly now, because as we grow in our marriage, we kind of see how we've gotten even much more closer than we were. Funny enough, even when we started dating or getting married and all that, we're even much closer now. And that's just because we've made the choice that we're each other's person. And making that choice of being each other's person, meaning if any little thing happens, the first person I want to tell is you. So therefore, we can't go the whole day literally without having to text each other and tell each other something. Exactly.
In the
and
union.
Because of that, it might seem so minute and it might seem like it's not a big deal, but trust me, it does something, because it keeps you at the top of my mind. It keeps you like front and center, where it's like something happens, you're the first person I want to share it, and that makes me prioritize our marriage, because no matter how busy we are, no matter how zoned in or whatever, something happens, whether it's good, always good, good report, good news, the first person that comes to mind is my partner. So I feel like that's a big one that we do.
No, it is a big one, and I want to address something that I see that is rampant now, and it's going on in most marriages today. And you know, let me just say this: whatever works for everybody's marriage, so be it. You know, but every time you talk about our closeness, how close we are as individual, as friends that we are, I have no choice but to remember that there are a lot of people who actually frown upon that. And there are leaders with voices and platforms who tell you, get a life. Separate your life from your spouse. Do your own thing. Be your own person. And
not a believer.
I don't know about that.
I'm not a believer. I'm not a believer.
So because there's a lot of people who share in that mentality, who go to that school of thoughts that yes, do your own thing. Like don't be too close to your spouse. Like for example, I have a friend of mine who says he doesn't share everything with his wife. He can't tell her everything. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. That's what works for y'all. But then something happens and he's like, man, I gotta tell my wife this, because if something were to happen to me, I can't be in a position where she doesn't know. It's not until something negative happens to somebody else that you wake up and come to the realization that your wife should be brought in on almost everything.
I just feel like it's a little weird, and it's kind of like a culture.
So it makes you want to think about it, like, is their friendship lacking? Are y'all just like spouses but not friends?
Misconception of what they define as respect, honor. It's a myth they use where they feel like if I don't give you the closeness, then it shows that you must respect me. But that's not where respect comes from.
No.
You know, you can be as distant as you want to with me, and I can still show that I don't respect you.
Right, exactly.
Do you understand what I'm saying? So for me, I'm not a believer of the ones where it's like, don't be close to your spouse. I can have a life outside of my family, outside of my marriage. I have friends. I have people that I talk to. You know what I'm saying? I can have that. But best believe, I don't care what anybody says. I'm not a believer. My number one best friend in this world is my spouse. The number one person that I want to be tied to, like tight with, is my spouse. Everybody else will be all right. So for people that feel like, well, that's a little too much, that's your prerogative, because at the end of the day, this is what's working for me and mine. And because I see that it's working, and I see that it doesn't give room for some things to enter, it doesn't give room for the devil to move around and work. Trust me, look deeply into the ones that say frown and stay away. You start to find some cracks in their marriage. You start to find some cracks in their family.
Well, you know what? To each his own. And I love that you said that. This is what has been working for us.
Yes.
14 years together, 7 years married, 8 years married. It's no joke.
Yeah.
It's been working. It is not going to stop working.
Yeah.
And we're going to keep doing that because it's been working.
With the help of God. With the help of
God, of course. And so it's like, it's again, today's episode is about what has been working for us.
Exactly.
What have we been doing that's been working, that we've seen that, okay, this is actually making a difference in our marriage. If you find that distance and lack of friendship and all that stuff
it
is
works
what
for
works
your
for
marriage.
Because hey man,
every marriage is
you
different.
feel me?
Yeah.
There are people that 30 years together, 40 years, 50 years together, and they don't have no friendship.
That's true.
And it works just perfectly well for
That's
them.
your prerogative.
Right? Remember that lady, Shirley,
right,
whatever her name is, right?
Shirley.
She's been married to a husband for over 5-10 years, or however long they've been married. They live separate lives. He's
it's working for them.
in Philadelphia. She's in California. They see each other whenever they see each other. And whenever they're not together, is see you, bye-bye, see you later.
Yeah.
If that's what's working for y'all, fine.
Yeah.
That's y'all's agreement, right?
Absolutely.
That's fine. I mean,
and I kind of want to put out there too, like, I feel like a lot of people, when they listen to podcasts or they listen to, people that talk and preach like we do, or, there's so many things, as when you even reference back the Tiana Taylor and Iman and their own situation, is because people look at people and they like to mystify people's relationship. They like to give it a model that they feel like is what everybody should follow, which is wrong, right? The couple goals and all that, that's great and everything, but you got to understand that different things work for different people.
And you got to understand that real life and reels are two different things. Reels and reality,
you understand what I'm saying?
Are two different
and that's
things.
not to say what you see. Like, I'll give an example. Like, sometimes I think about it, and I think we've talked about it, we've laughed about it too. Like, when we post some family stuff or some things that we do, we kind of say, man, I wonder if people just look at this and be like, these people are just putting out content, and then we laugh and we're like, but they don't understand that this is really how we are. No. What you see is what you get, and people that come to our house will see how we are with each other, and they're like, okay, it's the same thing.
It's the same thing,
because we just I just don't, I can't.
There's no room, no space.
Yeah, there's no space
to be somebody else or something else.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's like what you see is what you get. Yeah. Now, don't look at my relationship or look at our marriage and say that is the model Stella. Listen, it is God. God is the Stella. God is the model.
And another thing that I meant by real versus reality is real is 60 seconds.
Exactly. It's not the full picture.
I'm gonna show you the best things I can show you. But
I'm not recording us arguing.
No, 60 seconds does not account for my entire
I'm not recording
day.
us calling me at 2 a.m. talking about you.
What?
Waking me up at 2 a.m. in the morning talking about you want to order something.
60 seconds does not account for the day. But you see that and you use a 60 seconds video to judge your entire life.
Exactly.
Be careful.
Very careful.
Be careful.
Dangerous.
Now, let because of our time, right? Let's talk about how it is that we handle conflict and we ensure that it doesn't damage our connection. But before we go into that, so Tiana Taylor and Iman,
they're just an example.
They're just an example, right? But if we were to even dive a little bit into their relationship, their situation, and why it had the ending that it had, a lot of red flags.
Yes. They exposed their marriage to a lot of things that they shouldn't have.
Exposed their homes.
Yes.
So a lot of things that the storm and the crash was inevitable.
Yep.
Remember, at Truth Be Told, I was talking about one of the ways that you reinforce your home, that you stormproof your home, is number one is that you have to reinforce your roofs, right? You have to make sure that it's reinforced and it's not going to fly up when storm comes and things like that. Another example that I gave was that you have to reinforce your doors and your windows. You have to seal it and make sure that there's no cracks.
Yes.
For no drifts, nothing to come in and things like that. And I was using that analogy to explain marriage too.
Yeah.
That my interpretation of this and that, right? And when it came to those two, they didn't seal the doors and the windows of their home.
No, they didn't.
They allowed everything and anything to come in, and then they expect for it not to break.
Yeah.
I don't understand. You open your marriage and you say we have an open marriage. Even that statement alone has a problem.
Yeah.
An open marriage is exposed marriage.
Yes.
Let me just say that. I wish somebody would write that down. Yeah. An open marriage is an exposed marriage.
Yes.
And so when it falls through the crack, that you have opened,
trace it back.
Don't be surprised.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
You want to ask us how we handle conflicts?
Number one,
we keep the doors closed.
That's one way. We do not let outside interference affect our marriage. It was an intentional choice too.
Yeah.
Because it's not even just about like cheating or infidelity and none of that. No, even friends, even family, even outside voices where you feel like they can just interject, make it. I mean, we talked about something like that last time, making somebody's issue your own issue and it starts to affect your marriage. No, we made a choice. We said, listen, whatever's happening out there is happening out there. It don't got nothing to do with us.
And guess what? This didn't start overnight.
No,
right?
It didn't.
There were a point in our marriage where my wife, especially, I mean, I did it too, I think, but
it was both sides, but it was mostly me.
You, right? Yeah. Where something would happen outside, right? And it would affect her so much that it affects us.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait a minute now. This
don't got nothing to do with us.
Has nothing to do with us.
Right.
Like, remove this one situation and we're actually good. So why are you trying to turn this into our problem?
Right, exactly.
Why is this becoming our issue? Because guess what? They're good in their home and they've moved on from that situation.
Exactly.
But you're still holding on to it and now it's becoming our problem.
Yeah.
We decided that we were not going to do that anymore. It's a choice.
It's an intentional work too that we put into it, because you have to understand it's fine to, we're human beings, we're emotional beings. We see things and they affect us in different ways. But you have to understand that when it comes to you and your spouse, it's you and your spouse. Yeah. There are ways to address things. There are ways to deal with things. There are ways to, and it's not to say like, there's not imperfect. Let me tell you that. There's not to say we don't have our issues where we argue, where we, go back and forth, and we kind of get. I mean, you could even say right now, before we jumped on this on this recording, we had a little back and forth, but it wasn't a thing to really affect us. Yeah. It was just a quick disagreement, but we moved on from it because
what does that say?
It's a choice that we made.
What does that say? What does that say about us?
Oh.
No, I'm just saying, like, what it says is, yes, we've made the choice,
right?
But also going back to what I said yesterday at Truth Be Told. Again, remember, this is part 2 of that message,
right?
And so I'm going to make a lot of references
to that
message.
like,
and again, shameless plug, go watch it if you haven't, okay? But what it says is that we have or are. Right, it's a continuous thing.
It's a continuous
We're
thing.
working to master control of our emotion.
Yeah.
Mastery of emotional control. Yes, you can express yourself and express your displeasure and express your anger or express your disagreement about something. That's fine. But it doesn't have to control your emotion.
Exactly.
It doesn't have to get you to the point where you're angry and you're shut down for the day.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to get to the point where we're now having tension and bad feelings and bad thoughts towards one another. It never has to get to that point if you have emotional control.
Especially when you also understand too that regardless of the situation, you or your spouse, you're not trying to hurt each other. You're not trying to do those things intentional to each other. So it's not something to hold a grudge on. It's a matter of, okay, how can we make sure this doesn't happen again?
Exactly.
How can I make sure you understand how I feel? And we can move on from it and go on about a day. And I feel like, and I thank God for that, because it took work with us too. It's not just something that happened overnight.
Yeah.
Like in the beginning of our relationship, beginning of our marriage, we had to put that work into it to even get to the point where it's like, okay, I'm really pissed right now with what you just said.
Yeah.
But you know what? 5 minutes later, I can move on from it because I know it's not an intentional thing to piss me off or to hurt me.
Right.
I want you to understand that I don't like what you did.
Yeah.
But please don't do it again.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you move on from it and truly move on, because that's one of the issues people have. People don't know how to actually let go of things when they resolve it.
Yes.
And some of the time is because they never actually truly resolve it. They never really say how they feel about it, talk it out, they sweep sweep it under the rug, and they end up going back to it. I mean, we've had times where we've kind of reflected back on, oh, but this, but that, but this. But I just thank God, because as of recently, we've not been doing that. Whatever issue we have in that moment is that moment, and we move on from it. So you have to make sure that when you do resolve issues, you're actually resolving it.
Shameless plug. Again, making another reference to the teaching from Truth Be Told. You have to learn to stay in the present.
Yes.
You can't bring up issues from the past. And you can't bring up issues, perceived issues.
Yes.
That's one thing I forgot to mention at Truth Be Told. It's easy, right? Some people will say, well, remember when you did this? Remember, always trying to take you and draw you back to the past, right? But then there are situations where you have perceived issues. They haven't happened, but you think they will, so you begin to have attitude towards what hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Oh, he's going to Nigeria by himself. We don't know what he's gonna do when it gets there.
Right.
So let's make sure that this don't happen, that don't happen, or whatever. You're just assuming issues will arise when they haven't arisen.
Yeah.
So we stay intentionally in the present. If there's a present issue, we address it.
Yeah.
We don't talk about the past, and we don't make up stuff in the future just to fight or argue about. And so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna stop right here. We've addressed how we prioritize our marriage amidst the busyness of our lives, right? Of course, there's a lot more to say, but the ones we've said is good enough, I would believe. And then we've talked about how we handle conflict in our marriage without damaging our connection, right? We start from a place of love. It's always in a place of love, right? That's the foundational understanding.
Yeah.
Number two, we never let it linger for too long.
No.
We are quick to forgive. We're quick to move on. Yeah. And then we have our happy place, and we always want to get back to our happy place.
Yeah, I'm trying to go there.
And whenever we're not in our happy place, we're like, okay, what's going on, right? A lot of people don't have
that, yes.
And it's not a physical place for those of you who are thinking, is this somewhere we got to drive to?
No.
It's a happy state, a happy portal that you go to, both of y'all go to, and you are you.
Yeah.
You follow what I'm saying? And so we are quick to say, let's get back to our happy place where we're good. The place where we're not fighting, we're not arguing, we're loving up on each other, we're enjoying each other's company. God is good, and find your happy place. All right. That's what I'm gonna say for today. All right, we're just gonna end it there, and we're gonna do a part two.
Yes, I think
we're gonna do a part two because of our time. I really just wanted to do like a quick segue to yesterday's teaching, Truth Be Told teaching for this week.
It wasn't yesterday, it was on Tuesday.
Yeah, I know. I mean, so
yesterday was Ignite.
Go ahead and watch that message as you've listened to this one. If you want to hear more about what we do in our marriage and how we make marriage work for us, we'll be more than happy to share. Ask us specific questions, and we'll be able to answer those questions on this platform as well. I hope we've shared a tip or two to help solidify your kingdom union, not only with yourself, but also with others, and most importantly, with God on today.
Yes, don't forget to like, to share, to comment down below, and make sure hit that subscribe button.
And until next time, be the light,
be the salt,
and remember, all things are possible if you believe. Ciao, ciao, ciao.
Bye.